So thank you all for joining our webinar today. My name is Alexa and I'm on the client success team. My colleagues Grace and Ashley are also on the call and will be answering questions at the end of today's session. Today's webinar will focus on supplementary tools that we haven't covered in previous webinars. These tools are typically used by nonprofit and university clients, but can be useful for everyone. We'll be looking at donor search, giving history, and RSVP search. Clients can use these tools to discover new potential donors, understand donation patterns, and build a curated invitee list for an event. If you'd like to view previous webinars that covered the basic RelSci tools, please feel free to navigate to this RelSci training page up here, and you can view those past sessions on YouTube. We're leaving time for a Q&A at the end, so please feel free to type your questions in as they come, and we'll get to them after the webinar, after I'm done presenting. We'll also be sending a short survey at the end of this. We would appreciate if you could take just a moment to fill it out. It'll help us tailor future webinars to what you're most interested in. This webinar will also being recorded, so it'll be up on YouTube later this week. Great, so the first tool we'll be looking at is donor search. Donor search is an out-of-the-box prospecting tool that helps you build an build a prospect list by looking at individuals who have donated to, sat on the board of, or worked at a similar organization or cause that you enter. These individuals will have affiliations with a similar organization or cause, so they might be more likely to donate to you. Clients can use this to diversify their board or prospect for new donors. We'll be looking at two examples for an organization and a charitable cause. I work for Habitat for Humanity International, and I want to find new donors. I'll type my organization in, exclude people who've already donated, and I want donors to be in New York City because that's where I'm based. As this generates, my Wi-Fi has been a little iffy this morning, so if there's a long load time, that's why. So there are over 5,000 results. There are a lot more results because, again, you're looking at those three things: career, boards they sit on, and donations they've given. Underneath a person's name, you will see why they're on this list. So this individual has donated to Endeavor Global and Brazil Foundation. Jamie has donated to Trickle Up, and James was on the board of the American Australian Association. Because they did these, because they donated and worked on those boards, they can potentially be a good fit for you. If you have a connection to that person, you will see a glimpse of it under My Shortest Path over here. And you would press See All to take you to Pathfinder, where you can see all the connections between you and Jamie. How clients can use this list is use these people, is you can add them to a list to use later on in Power Search to refine the list more, or Pathfinder to relationship map to these people. You can set news alerts on it as well once you've created a list, and you can export this by clicking Report to share with your team. And you will, if you scroll down, all of these people. You can also plug in a charitable cause instead of an organization. So if I am looking at foundations in general, you can select these different foundations, but I'm going to look just in general. Foundations that involve housing. I'll show those donors. You can add multiple keywords or keep it with just one. It depends on how refined you'd like the search to be. I can explain these buttons as the list loads. So in total, there are almost 5,000. Currently, my rel web has 1 connection, but my relationships, I'm connected to 26 of them and 1,500 through 2 degrees of Morris separation. Mark would be a good fit for me to target because he has donated to the Tipping Point, on the board of University of Southern California. In parentheses, you'll see the sector that that organization is in. Frank donated to, is on the board of, was on the board of. So that's my mouse, I'm sorry. So you'll see why they're on that list and why they can be a good fit. And again, if you have a connection, you'll see that under my shortest path. The next tool we'll be looking at is giving history. Giving history shows the history of donations to or from a person or organization. This will generate both unlinked and linked donations, so organizations that might not have a RelSci profile, but are related to what you input. While you can see a person or organization's donation on their profile, we have giving history as an additional resource. Giving history can help you identify if there's a similar theme of patterns of donation, and you can see who is donating to a similar organization, understand their potential giving capacity, and see if they might be a good target for you. You can look up both a donor and a recipient. For a donor, you can think of this as a keyword where you would enter someone in apostrophes. I'm looking at Henry Kravis. I want to see where he's donated in the past 3 years. I'll remove this. Not sure why that's not loading. It was loading early.
Kravis wrong.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's why. Okay, so now I'll add it just down to those past 3 years. In 2020, Henry donated $2,500 to Marie and to St. Anne's Warehouse, and it was him and Marie Jose. In 2019, he donated $1 million to Carnegie Hall Corporation. So you see a list of all of their donations and the year. You can export this into a CSV to share with your team or filter down more on your own. You can look at a recipient as well. So I'll remove all of this. I want to look at Broward Center for Performing Arts Foundation. I want to see in general who has donated to them. They're a similar organization as mine, so who might be a good target for me? These donors have all donated to the foundation. Again, this will show both unlinked and linked people, so you'll get a very in-depth picture of who has donated to this foundation. As I said, you can see this information on the Broward Performing Arts Foundation, but it's great to see it in giving history. And you can export these results into a CSV. The next tool is RSVP Search. RSVP Search is similar to donor search, where you're helping to build an invitee list for an event you're hosting. The algorithm will generate a curated invitee list based off of your organization's public connections. By default, your own organization will be plugged in. As you saw when I clicked it, automatically RelSci popped up. So based off of my C-suite senior management, board members and donors, all of those public people, it will generate a list of names of who these people might know. Over 5,000 people, that's a pretty large list, so you can filter it down more. You can search for a specific person to see if maybe they know someone and will be a good fit for you. Let's say I'm hosting an end of the year gala and would like to maybe invite people that I haven't invited in the past. So because I want to look at just of my board members' connections and see who they know. Over 5,000 people, that's still a little bit too large, so I want to filter it down more. Similar to Power Search and Pathfinder, you can filter results. You can filter by the role that they have, the location, industry, and causes. Since I'm based in New York, I want to find people who were in New York City. In the industry, you have these options. I want people in marketing. Apply. So a little under 400 people, much more manageable than over 5,000. This person, I can invite him because he works at Fox, he's worked at News Corp, Pierre knows Kenneth, works at the Huffington Post, is on the board of Systemic. For all of these reasons, they could be a good fit for me to invite to my event. As you can with with donor search, if you have a connection to that person, you will see it right here. You can sort these individuals by rank, how influential they are, RelSci relationships, how many people they know, role, tenure, and name. Some clients only want to target or invite people who have a large network, so that's why they could filter by relationships. Automatically, it'll filter by rank. So if you only want to invite people who are pretty influential, you can organize it by rank. You can add these names to a list or an event. Event is similar to lists, where it's an organizational tool. You can build events, for example, for these names, if you want to add them as a list under events, or if you have previous people who've attended your events, you can add them as a list under events. So it's very similar to lists. If you'd like to know more about lists, you can view our previous trainings that cover lists, or you can reach out to your client success manager to go over it further. And with everything, you can export this into a CSV. In total, 400. I'm connected to 20 of them, and just under 400, I have 2 to 3 degrees of separation. Those were the tools I wanted to look at with you. We can now open it up for questions. I know today's session was shorter than previous ones. That's because we're only looking at a few tools rather than the whole platform.
Great, thanks, Alexa. I'm happy to start off the Q&A session with our first question, and looks like we'll have a little bit of time, so please feel free to submit those via the question box in the next few minutes, and we'll make sure to address those. The first question we have says, are these searches limited by the type of package or subscription you have? So on the right-hand side under your toolbar, if you do not see donor search or giving history or RSVP search, these are absolutely tools that can be turned on for you. If you are part of our enterprise subscription, which everyone on this call should be, you have access to these tools. We just need to update your account so they are visible. When starting with any new clients, we try to give you all the tools that will be relevant, but we can certainly update along the way. So if you don't see those, please feel free to reach out to our client success team directly to myself, Ashley, or Alexa, and we'll make sure to update your account accordingly so you can run those searches.
So sorry, I muted myself. So the next question that we have is, what sources does RelSci use to figure out who gives where? So we have a number of different ways to pull in data within the RelSci platform. We have a research team of about 200 researchers who find not only proprietary data from our own research, but we also pull in a lot of information from different vendors. So some of the larger vendors that we work with is FactSet, LexisNexis, Morningstar, iWave, NOSA, Crunchbase, Thomson Reuters. So we're typically receiving that data from different vendors as well as public filings if those are available as well.
The next question we have says, will this recording be available later? Absolutely. So we will be providing a copy of this recording on our YouTube channel, so you can reference that at your convenience. And it'll also be sent to you directly via email sometime tomorrow or later this week, so that you can go ahead and click on the link and be brought right to our YouTube channel.
There will also be another session for nonprofits later this month. So if you'd like to join again, instead of watching it on YouTube, you can register either up here with RelSci training or from the email we sent you to join. I think it's the 3rd week of the month.
So we'll give it another minute for everyone to input their questions, but as Alexa mentioned, we have that training coming up. We also have a few sessions in June if you're interested in joining. We have a relationship web overview if you're the administrator for your organization and you want to learn how to update your rel web, an administrator focused session typically for for-profits. We have a really great general Q&A session coming up in July where we answer frequently asked questions. And then we also have a radar webinar coming up in July as well, where we'll also hope to talk about any upcoming product enhancements that we have. Well, it looks like we just got another question in. So it says, so RSVP Search is good to use to see those big connections with your board, for example. That's exactly the purpose of RSVP Search. We created this so that if you are creating an invitee list, like Alexa said, you can easily see where you might have connections through your board, through your donors, through your key executives. So on this, as Alexa mentioned, you can further filter, looking for current relationships, prior, past, and then see the shortest path that you have from there to generate an event or report this out to share with your team.
We got a question, could you demonstrate if I am trying to see overlap in funders for 2 other organizations and my organizations? So if you go to donor search where you can see people who have donated or who might be donating, you can type in your organization, but you can also type in 2 other organizations that might be of interest to you and see who might have been donating to them. In giving history, you can type in your org or another organization to see who's donating to them. And I'll just type in Performing Arts Center again. You can export this into a CSV and export the names of those 3 organizations and then see who overlaps or who is only donating to one org once you have exported all that info.
Okay, so it looks like we went through all the questions within the question box, but if you think of anything as you're playing around, or if, as Grace said, you don't have any of these tools within your RelSci account, feel free to reach out to your CSM directly. And then, as Alexa mentioned, we'll be sending a really short survey after this. If you could just take 60 seconds to let us know your thoughts and any future webinar requests that you have, we would greatly appreciate it. And as Grace mentioned, we'll also be sending around the YouTube clip of this recording if you want to share it with your team. But thank you everyone so much for taking the time on this nice morning, and we look forward to seeing you at future webinars. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alexa.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.